Good morning, good morning. This is another vlog. Sorry we're a little bit late, but this past couple of weeks have been absolutely hectic and I haven't really had time to upload. So this is Rick, this is our pet bearded dragon, and I'm just saying good morning to Rick before I get on with the things that need to be done today. Rick is a grumpy little old man. So in this vlog today we're going to be showing you what I've been doing for the last week and a half in terms of the garden and the house. Obviously I'm a writer, so the majority of my time is spent writing, but I'm not going to film that because it is boring for you to watch. So yeah, I don't know what Rick was doing here today. He was being very antisocial. Normally he's a little bit nicer to hold, but he seems so desperate just to get back in his tank, and he was just not having it. Rick and Chico get on really well. Chico loves Rick and wants to play with Rick. Rick just ignores Chico. So they kind of get on, but Rick doesn't seem to care about Chico's presence, even though Chico really likes him. So he needs a good clean out, he needs his plate taken out. That was actually today's food. He throws the sand and everything on his plate. Okay, so this is something I really want to share with you. This here is one of the babies from the blue tit family that has been living in our garden. This was the most amazing day. We were doing stuff in the garden and we noticed that all 4 of the babies were now flying and jumping from tree to tree. Their parents were nearby, and just randomly we noticed that one of them was sat in the feeding tube not moving. We were actually concerned it was hurt, so Ross put his hand up to see and it hopped onto his finger. And we thought maybe it was sick, so we were kind of looking at it hoping that wasn't the case, but no. The other 3 babies also came down and decided to interact with us and hop on our fingers and feed right beside us. We came to the conclusion it's because they've literally been born and raised in our garden. They've seen us out there every day filling the feeders, working in the garden. This was my children coming to see what was going on. As you can see, another baby landed. And I was like, is it a fluke? Is this one going to be okay with us too? So I put my finger up, and watch what happens when I put my finger up near the baby. We were completely like mesmerized that all 4 of the babies were wanting to like interact and come to us, and they just stayed around for like 40 minutes, like all 4 of them. The parents were nearby, they were just observing. They didn't get angry or dive at us. They didn't seem to care, to be honest, which is really unusual because the blue tits were really protective when the nest was, obviously the babies were in the nest. But yeah, we had a good 45 minutes of just admiring the little baby birds. They did not fly away, they just kept hopping from the fence to the bird feeder, sometimes up to the tree, and then they would come straight back again and come and take the food we were giving them. It was really cute. So yeah, we were, as you can see, even eats from Ross's hand. Like, they really were not scared of us at all, which I'm supposing is a bad thing because they had no fear, but we're hoping it's only because they knew us and that they weren't going to go and interact with people that might actually hurt them or be too brave and going near neighborhood animals. We're hoping this was just a fluke and a one-off. And sadly, this day was the last day these little babies were here because they flew the nest the very next morning. And although we've seen them in the distance fluttering about, that was them up and out, flying away from their parents. Their parents still come back to the feeders every day. As you can see, I mean, look at this, 45 minutes of this. It was amazing. This was the little flapping of its wings is it communicating, and apparently that's how they talk to each other, the little blue tits, and the chirping, he kept chirping at Zach. This was them just speaking to us. But look how so cute they are. This was such an amazing time. I had to mute the sound on all of these videos though because we were having conversations at the same time, and some of like the conversation was not about the birds, it was about stuff to do with our family. And so I had to mute all the sounds, sadly, so you don't get to hear the little chirping of the birds. It was so adorable. And look, Chico's right there too, and they didn't even care. Chico's used to seeing the birds on the bird feeder, so he doesn't bother with birds. And it's so obvious these birds weren't bothered about us. So it was funny because that morning we were actually out before we were doing the garden, and I bought a little blue tit ornament for my shelf. I was trying to pick between a robin, a blue tit and a house sparrow because all three come to my garden, and I wanted one just because they were so cute. And Ross was like, oh, the blue tit's the cutest, they look like the blue tit parents in our garden. And then brought it home, put it on my shelf, and literally 15 minutes later this happened. It just felt like it was a little bit of a nudge. As you saw, that one that flew down and flew away again, that was another baby. There's a baby up here too. There was 4 babies in total and 2 parents kicking around. And yeah, it was such a cute day. We were kind of hoping that we would get to repeat getting to see them up that close, but they flew the nest, and that was that. We'll just have to admire them from afar, although friends have told me that blue tits, look, there was 3 of the babies flying by. That was them flexing their wings and going a little bit further. They were getting really brave that day. They started with only flying to different points of our garden, then they extended to the neighbours' gardens, and then they were flying rooftop to rooftop. Then they eventually were flying from tree to tree. Some of the trees were quite a bit away from our back garden, and we knew that that meant that they were going to be taken off soon. This was them getting ready to leave their parents. Okay, back to this garden. So this is the week we were finally going to lay the astroturf. We've had it for a while, but we were waiting until Ross had a holiday from work to get on with a lot of stuff because we needed to hire a whacker to compound the soil. So this is what it's looking like so far. The place is a mess, but there is so much to be done. All the trees that we cut down, the branches and the leaves, I need to take care of. As you can see, it's opened this space up so much. And yeah, all the bags of sand are going to get used. I am also moving my composter this week. I just feel like it should be here instead of so far away, right next to one of my planters. And this is just all stuff I've moved because this is a wee fire we're going to start. We've got a garden incinerator, so I was moving plant pots away from it in case it got hot and all that. Yeah, even though it's raining, I was going to have a fire. I actually thought because it was slightly raining it would be better for the neighbours, keep the smoke down, kind of dampen it down a bit. So that's why I picked this day to set fire to everything. There's our wee incinerator. I thought this was going to be a quick job. I'm not going to lie, this took me 2 days. 2 days to burn all of that stuff, and I still have a full incinerator's worth to burn, which I haven't done yet. This was me moving all the compost, and it was actually a good thing I did this because I got to empty out the entire thing and see what state my compost is in. Look, I kind of smoked myself out. Because of the rain, obviously some of the leaves started to get really wet, and I didn't think about that when I was doing it. But yeah, the wet leaves caused a lot of smoke, so I had to run in the house. But I did get my compost removed. I got to see my compost is pretty much almost ready to be used. So when I get all my new planters for the garden patch, I'm going to be able to empty the entire composter and start again. Okay, this was a couple of days later. This is the wood that I have left. As you can see, I got all of that cleared, all of it away, all the branches, all the leaves, everything, cleared that right up. And it kind of felt massive after that, just another job to be done. This area has become a complete mess, but to be honest, we've got that much going on in the garden. I'm not thinking about keeping things tidy and maintaining because the whole garden's getting an overhaul. I am loving how everything's coming into bloom though. I just thought I would give you a little update. I moved some of my foxglove around here. That corner never really grows anything, so I'm hoping foxglove will do okay there because they can be grown in like shady woodland areas. This area here is the bane of my existence. We used to have the bird feeder up there, and they knocked all the seed in and it grew and I can't get it out. So the front garden, as you can see, this is my little every video update of how it's looking. I tied up all my forget-me-nots to give them some support, and these daisies because obviously they kept falling over. My little willow tree is still not growing very high, but it is getting really bushy, so I have to keep pulling the branches out to give the plants underneath some room. It's supposed to grow to about 2.5 meters. I wish it would hurry up. My foxgloves are looking great, but I'm kind of also looking forward to when they go to seed and I can pull them out and give some of the other plants some room. I never planted these foxgloves. These were all self-seeded from one tiny plant, and they kind of went everywhere this year. My honeysuckle is finally growing up my arch and everything's just looking nice. I did plant some new plants this week, and amongst all this, some red poppies you'll probably see later in the video. Now in this time we also had Chico at the vet. This is us going to collect him. Chico had to be put under anaesthetic and have teeth removed, and the whole day that he was in the vet I was really stressed out, could not film, could not focus. I was so worried about him. So this was us going to pick him up, which was the first time I'd picked up my camera in like 2 or 3 days, just because stress, worrying about it. He's a little tiny chihuahua. Even the vet was concerned that putting him under anaesthetic wouldn't be a good idea because of how small he is. But he was a trooper. They did say his temperature kept dropping, so they had to cut the surgery short rather than x-ray his teeth. But look at this. The same day we brought him home, we'd only been on the road 10 minutes, and he's eating. They had told us at the surgery that he came out the anaesthetic really fast and seemed to like bounce back to his cell quickly, so it was okay to have soft food. And he ate the whole bowl, even though he just had like 6 teeth out. He's still very drugged here, as you can tell. He doesn't quite know what's going on, but you know, he was eating straight away. I had to actually take away all the hard foods in case he tried to eat them. And this was him just chilling. He didn't quite understand what was happening. He was on pain medication. He was still a little bit drugged up, and you could tell he was a little bit, ooh. He was just so funny. He was, acting strange here, licking his bed. I'm thinking this is definitely a product of anaesthetic. He sat licking that blanket for so long. I don't think he knew what he was doing. And then he slept for like 4 hours just after this. He was just getting down for a little nap. He was just so desperate to sleep. But his teeth have been done now, which cost us a lot of money. But I've noticed since he had his teeth out, he is eating a lot better than he had in months. We used to think he was just really picky, and he turned his nose up at loads of different foods, and since he's had his teeth out, he is eating everything. So maybe he was just in pain and we didn't know it. Ross had to put up a makeshift shelter because it was still raining, and he really wanted to get the front of his office workshop finished. Finally, it's been sat like for too long, because we want to try and get some of this stuff used up and moved out of the garden. We've also got this fencing to get done. It just feels like it's a big mess all the time and not progressing, even though we're doing things and it's progressing. See, as you can see the bit under the window that isn't done, he's got that whole side to finish. And then we can I don't know why my camera does this. It zooms in and out. I have no control over it. I've tried turning it off so many times. I don't know why it does it. So please excuse it. I was going to cut it out, but it is what it is. Okay, as you can see, Ross was getting on with this. Now this day actually ended up being a really sunny, beautiful day. You can't really tell from this angle, but we've already compacted the ground where the astroturf is going to go, and we had to head out to go and get some things for the garden, just to get his the front of his shed finished. And I just thought I would show you some of the pretty scenery of where we live. Okay, this is the compactor. We had to bring it out for a second time after he did more of the shed. Excuse the state of the front of the workshop. The boards we have for it had been lying in the rain for literally a couple of years, so they all need scrubbed down and touched up with the paint that comes with them. They will look amazing when we're done, but it wasn't the priority. The priority was getting this done. So hardcore sand, compacting. This was a lot of work, and it took us 2 days to lay the astroturf, which was surprisingly more time than we thought it would take. Now this is only one side of the astroturf. We will be doing more on the other side, and we also laid a new path and broke 2 slabs in the process, so we had to go back and get 2 more. But look, voila, we got the path finished. So once we put this astroturf down here, that little path doesn't just lead into the shed. We're putting a little deck there in grey composite. we're just focusing on one part of the garden at a time, because otherwise I would get overwhelmed. There's just so much to be done, which is a lot of work. It's also a lot of money, the things needing to be done, but once this is finished, it's going to be amazing. This was us laying it out to trim it to size, and look at the difference it makes. It just, when you see it in the flesh, this AstroTurf looks so real. It looks just like real grass. This was Ross, you know, petting his grass because he was very impressed with it. He wanted to like take some pictures to see how real it looked up close in his camera. And then Chico got on the action and decided this was a great chance for a little photo shoot. Because Ross loves taking pictures of Chico for some reason. You know, he's such a man's dog. Just look at him, Chico having a wee leg stretch. So Chico really loves it, and the whole point of the AstroTurf was for Chico. That was the original idea. So Chico would have somewhere softer to run around on his paws. Also encourage him to do his business in a place that we can see it and pick it up, because when he does it on the stones we can't see it. So yeah, there's going to be more AstroTurf, but look how much this dog loves this. He never plays in the garden because it hurts his feet, those stones. And here he was like, yes, this stuff is amazing. I love this stuff. This grass stuff is so cool. And then he ran in the house. For a dog that was in recovery, he doesn't seem like he's been through any kind of ordeal. And the cat is a little bit bewildered as to what is going on, and everything's changing. But this is as far as we seem to get this week. Ross ended up in hospital with stomach problems, so his week off from work was the majority of the time at the doctor's. But yeah, this is still to be done and moved so we can build the deck there, and then I will move on to here. I am going to have my garden vegetable plot over there. That's going to take some effort. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you in the next one.